If you're a technology developer with something to accelerate the journey to net zero carbon, then the Trial Reservoir might be a way for you to accelerate the commercialization of your tech. The purpose of the Trial Reservoir is to mitigate climate change, so it doesn't matter whether your technology lowers greenhouse gas emissions or saves electricity, as long as you have some demonstrable mitigation aspect to your technology, then the reservoir might be for you. Why would you take part? Well, to begin with, we have the opportunity to lend you the money for trial running costs, and I'll talk about that more in a few minutes' time. But what we can offer you from left to right is a marketing and brand awareness campaign on successful conclusion of a trial, technical support in the design and validation of your trial, and negotiation support when it comes to reaching a trial and purchase agreement with your technology user. The marketing and brand awareness only kicks in as a collaborative effort and only at the end of the trial if the trial was a success. We undertake a collaborative piece of work with you and with your technology user so that nothing you say is compromising your IP or you don't share any messages you don't want to put in the public domain. And it gives you a platform that reaches about 1,600 water industry professionals in 107 countries to explain what you did and why it was successful. This is hugely powerful. You obviously can explain that your technology works and what it does, but users tend to take it with a grain of salt because you're trying to sell it. I can explain it to them, but I'm just a consultant. But if your end user stands on a stage with you and says they tried your technology and they liked it, so they bought it, that has a much more powerful effect on the rest of the water industry. The second box, technical support, speaks to our core business. Isle's bread and butter is validating new technologies. So what we can offer you is access to our skill set without having to go through a consulting process. We can help you design a trial that is scientifically robust but economical with resources. We can validate that trial, and at the end of it we can give a professional independent opinion on whether the conclusions that were drawn are supported by evidence that was generated throughout the trial. In the third box on the right hand side is negotiation support. So we can help you at the beginning of the trial organising your key performance indicators or your critical success factors for the trial itself. These are very important things. You need to have a set of criteria upon which you and your end user can agree, because those are the metrics by which we will decide at the end of the trial whether or not it has been successful. This diagram shows you how the trial reservoir works. If you start at number 1, solution identified, well, that's you, that's your technology, so you're already at step 1. Step 2 is engagement, so speak to us about your technology and what it does and who it's for. You can be from anywhere in the world, and your technology user can also be anywhere in the world. They can be in the water sector, or they can have a water or wastewater related challenge that they want to solve, but themselves be in another sector when it comes to their core business. Step 3 is to design the trial, and again, we can help you with that. Step 4 is a loan agreement, and you'll see in a couple of slides' time what the different funding options are for your trial. One of those options is a loan whereby we will lend you the running costs required for the trial. Whether or not you take a loan, you will go to step 5, the trial and purchase agreement, and this is just between you and your technology user. We don't sign that agreement, and it can be any kind of format that you want, so whatever works for your business and for your tech user's business and for the technology itself. It might be to purchase some hardware, or it might be a lease agreement, it might be a subscription. It doesn't matter to us as long as it works for you. After the trial and purchase agreement is reached, then funds can be provided, and as mentioned, they may be a loan, or they may be investment from one of the Trial Reservoir sponsors, or we might help you externally leverage funds from elsewhere. Once the trial is designed and signed up to, and it has received some funding, then the trial will be in progress, and we'll be with you every step of the way to make sure the trial goes to plan, to keep everybody on the right path and guard you against scope creep from yourself or from your end user, and to validate the results of the trial at the very end. After the trial, we'll not only undertake the validation, but we will with you decide whether or not the trial has worked. If despite all your best efforts the trial is unsuccessful, then you have no need to repay the loan, and your end user has no commitment to do anything with the technology that you've trialled. However, the trial and purchase agreement states that if the trial was successful, then they do have a commitment to purchase something from you. So that revenue that flows into your accounts enables you to repay the loan or to pay it forward, and the funds go back into the reservoir pot and they go out again, so you're paying it forward to the next trial to come along. So in this way, the money in the trial reservoir is evergreen. It can go out time after time after time again to support different trials. Because the trial and purchase agreement has to lead directly into deployment, commercialization of your technology with your end user, you and your technology need to be at TRL or technology readiness level 9 or 8 or at a push 7. Your client can be an industrial client or a water utility, and you and your client can be in any country. This is completely international. It is supported, the reservoir is supported by an international community of donors and sponsors, including Isle itself. This is where some of our profits go. What the trial reservoir is not is an investment fund, so there is no investment committee, and the sponsors don't have any say over which trials receive loans and which don't. It's also not a grant. The financial support is in the form of a loan, and although it only has to be repaid in the event of a successful trial, it does have to be repaid. So these are the funding options. You might have your own funding internally or externally. You might leverage it from somewhere else. That being the case, you can still access all of the technical and soft skills support that comes from coming into the Trial Reservoir program. In fact, we actively encourage it. Option B is to syndicate to sponsors. So if you don't have sufficient internal funds or you haven't leveraged external funds and the cost of the trial is more than we can afford to lend you, then there is an option to syndicate to the sponsors. This is not the same as going on a fundraising round for you. We will put your information in front of the sponsors after consulting with you about what that information is and who you would like to be approached or who you would like to have excluded. Then after some interest from the sponsors, we'll make a direct introduction. They will then engage directly with you. They will have their own due diligence process, and you'll undertake an agreement directly with them that doesn't involve Isle if they decide to invest in you. You can still stay in the trial reservoir and still get all the marketing and the access to technical and soft skill support that I described earlier. Then option C, which everybody thinks is option A, is where we give you a loan. This loan is only possible when option A and option B are not viable for your trial. The loan agreement is signed just between Isle and you as the technology developer, and it includes the timeline and the interest rates. The interest is set from trial to trial, so there's no set fee, and it varies according to the amount of risk we perceive in the technology developer, the end user, and the technology itself, and also the duration of the trial. The legal agreements, therefore, are as simple as we can make them. There is a letter of engagement between us and you, which we do up front. There's a trial and purchase agreement between you and your end user. And then there's a loan agreement if you take a loan between us and you. All of those agreements are bi-party agreements. The application process is quite straightforward. There is no deadline. There is no annual cycle. There's no call for proposals. You can apply whenever you're ready. As soon as you have identified a likely user for your technology, you can go ahead and fill in the initial screening questions. If you haven't got a likely user yet or they're unconfirmed, then engage with us, contact me, and we can have a conversation about how to go ahead with your application. The initial screening questions are the one on the right-hand side, so this gives you a preview of the kind of information you need to think about in order to initiate your journey with the trial reservoir. Once you've done that part, you will go on to a trader statement, and these are the 6 questions on the left-hand side of the screen. So the form covers some information about you and your technology, information about your trial, how long you will need the money for, what kind of resources you're looking for. Both of these are Google forms and they're very straightforward. The longest one, the trader, if you print it out, it amounts to about 1.5 pages, and that is all of the admin we will ever ask you to do. So this is the process. Get in touch, do the initial screening questions, do your trader statement, we'll undertake your letter of engagement, we'll help you secure a trial site and agree the success criteria with your end user, then you'll have a trial and purchase agreement, and after that the trial can begin. If you're interested in this and it's still not quite clear, you want some more information, feel free to contact me either on this email address here or through the website. I look forward to hearing from you.